Hey Lenny, you're the first to arrive. Hey Lenny, I can see on the air. Can you hear me okay? Okay, everybody, we're going to get going very shortly. Just want to do a sound check, making sure that everybody can hear me. Lenny, I can see you on there. Can you just raise your hand if you can hear me? Hopefully you're listening. All right, everybody, we're going to get going. Hopefully everybody can hear me. So welcome to this evening's ACY Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Thanks very much for attending. And if you're on YouTube, I'm unable to see the chat that's coming in on the YouTube. So I can't answer any questions if you're typing in, but if you want to join me in the webinar, I'll be able to ask questions, then simply go to, I'll just bring up the website. If you come over to acy.com, education webinars, then you're more than welcome to register and be able to chat to us in the webinar or join us for any upcoming webinars, okay? All right, so for those that can chat to me, then please read through the risk disclaimer. As we're going through the webinar, if you have any questions, just type them in for me. If you put the questions in the question and answer box, that would be great. I've also got the chat window open, so I'll see the chat window working too. All right, if you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor at ACY Securities. And you can connect with me at, well, let's just get past this page. I'm a little bit ahead of myself tonight. But a bit about myself. I'm a full-time Forex trader, and I've been trading the Forex market for more than 15 years. And I've been mentoring clients for more than 10. So I have lots of experience trading the market, mentoring clients and understanding what their needs are. If you need to contact me, you can get me at duncan.cooper@acy.com. So any questions regarding the webinars, feel free to shoot me an email. And then, as I was saying, you can follow me at the acy.com website. You'll find my analysis at the market news tab, some education videos as well in the education section. On YouTube, you'll be able to find my video analysis and education and videos at the handle of ACY Securities Australia. And if you want to connect with me personally on Twitter or LinkedIn, those are my handles. So tonight we are going through a live market analysis. But as well, we are in the throes of delivering the beginner webinar series. And tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Sydney time, I'm going to be taking you through the concept of Fibonacci. Last night went through the figure. And tomorrow night will be Fibonacci. Getting into next week, we'll be going through Tuesday, 8 p.m. Sydney time, MACD. Thursday, 8 p.m. Sydney time, average true range and session opening times. So that's what's coming up over the next 3 sessions after tonight. So let's get to my charts. And just looking at who's on tonight, I think everybody's attended before. However, just for those that might be live streaming and want to maybe come on board and attend the webinars for the longer term, I do use a little bit of a different set of charts. Then you can just download from the acy.com website. So if you want to get my charts, layouts and indicators, then you can download a file. I'll just give you the link in the chat. if you need to do any downloading. So the first link is just a link to a raw file. Got it here on my desktop. Just double click on it. Now you will need WinRAR software. It's just opened up on my own screen. So you need WinRAR software or an unzipping piece of software to get into it. WinRAR is just WinRAR. If you just go on Google search that, you'll be able to download it for free. Now within this file, there are folders that need to be moved to the MT4 platform. There's a video, 2-minute video of how to do it. So just play the video. It takes 2 minutes to set my charts up, and then you'll have my charts. All right, I'm just going to bring my charts up full screen. And I might just need to do an adjustment. Just bear with me a moment. All right, I'm not sure my toolbar at the bottom is streaming in on the stream. Hopefully, though, you're getting the full screen of the charts. Not quite sure why it's doing that. But in any event, I'm just going to soldier on. Hopefully, you're getting the full view of my charts and the tabs along the bottom here. So if you do the upgrade, what you'll get doesn't delete anything in the platform, but what it will do for you is it will add in some extra templates. My templates are these 4. On the toolbar here, just adds in a few extra buttons that I use in my webinars. Down here in the profile section, there'll be 4 profiles, 12 pairs daylight saving indices and megatrend. Currently using 12 pairs because we're not in daylight saving. If we're in daylight saving time in the Northern Hemisphere, I use this set of charts here. So currently for the next 5 or so months, I'm going to be just sticking to the 12 pairs charts. And what we might have a look at, first of all, well, we're going to go to the megatrend charts, I think, and have a look at the trend on those just before we kick into the charts individually. Let's let that bring up. And also tonight, just want to look at the news because the market's a little bit range bound. It's not very active. So why is that? So looking at the news at forexfactory.com, what I can see is at 11:30 p.m. we've got prelim GDP from the US coming out, QQ. 1 o'clock in the morning, these are Queensland times, core PCE price index. And then at 5 o'clock in the morning, we've got the US FOMC meeting minutes. That means when they did the last interest rate decision, these are the meeting minutes from that decision process. So the market is often quiet before that comes out because the market wants to know, did the verbiage change in the meeting minutes or not? And then if it did, then obviously that's going to affect the strength of the US dollar, be it weak or strong. So just be aware that there's a few items coming out and the market might be a bit slow and sluggish till we get past 5 o'clock in the morning. So really what I want to do for you today is go through the charts. These are my megatrend charts. If you're new to my charts, you might not understand what this is, but I've got 12 daily charts of the pairs that I trade. And I've got a indicator called bands on here. And if I bring the first one up, the Aussie yen, then the bands that I've got on here, the settings, I'll just show you the settings if you want to set that up for yourself, if you don't have my charts. Band period is 20, band deviation is setting at 1. And it's a very simple process. I'm just asking myself, is yesterday's candle closing above the bands or below the bands or in the bands? If it's closing above, like over here, we're heading into a new strong uptrend. It's closing below the bands like here, we're heading into a strong downtrend. If we're closing in the bands, as of yesterday, we did close into the bands, so we're maybe moving out of trend into consolidation. So let's go over, do a quick trend assessment. Aussie yen at the moment is just maybe moving out of a strong trend. We closed into the bands yesterday, but if we close below today, then tomorrow we're back into considering we've got a strong downtrend. So I'm going to quickly go through. Aussie dollar's closing below the band, so strong downtrend. Just going to pause, got a message coming in. Stephen, good evening. Nice to hear from you. And he's telling me he's having a beer and we should all have one on him. That'd be excellent. Okay, so Aussie dollar closing below the bands, so the trend is down. Euro yen, yesterday closed below the bands, so the trend is down. Euro dollar quite clearly closing below the bands yesterday. Trend is down. Pound yen, we're in the consolidation phase there, closing within the bands. Pound dollar, yesterday closed below the bands once more, so back into a trend to the downside. New Zealand yen, been closing, close on the bands, but the day before we closed below, I'd still say we're closing below. So I'd say we've still got a downtrend there on the New Zealand yen. New Zealand dollar, quite clearly closing below the bands. Dollar Canadian, yesterday closing above the bands. So an uptrend there. Dollar franc closing above the bands, so we're in an uptrend. And the dollar yen, we've closed above the bands, so we're in an uptrend. All right, so that should give you a good idea of the general sentiment of those pairs. So if I was looking at the mega trend and seeing a strong uptrend or downtrend, I'm just trading in line with that trend. Okay. I don't always use the mega trend just for my trend determination. I can just use price action as well, but that's a very simple approach if you're struggling with the trend. So that gives you a good quick view of what the trends are. Let's get to the charts. Now, I didn't see any setups when I was reviewing before I came on. And what I like to do on a day today where it's quiet and the market's waiting for news, I like to make sure I'm understanding what the clear trend is and start to look at levels that I like to look at in terms of trading if price was to move there post news time. So I'm actually just I'm going to start with the dollar yen. I reviewed this pair in video form on the website this week and started from the monthly chart. And the big question is, we are actually trading above this major area of monthly resistance at the moment at 114.72. But if you've been watching my analysis maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was talking about the pound yen when it was above a similar range. And I said I wasn't too happy that I wasn't too happy about being a buyer above the range in the short term because it could fall back down. And it spent a week and a half above that range before falling back into the range. So not sure whether the same thing's going to happen here, but I'm just looking at the market from experience. I'm not convinced yet that this is a clear break above this level. Yes, the monthly trend's showing high tops and bottoms, and we are above 114.72. So 114.72 is a critical area of what is the market doing around that level. If we fall back below it, that's weakness, and long term, we could see a long-term reversal down, maybe to the bottom of the range. That would be an excellent trade if it did move down and you got in near the top here. Weekly, this is in the high tops and bottom formation uptrend. I did tell you the mega trend was up. Last week, at the beginning of the week, I saw that we had a big inverted hammer and I thought, okay, we've rejected that level once more and maybe we're going to start to reverse down, but quite clearly at the moment, we had a further resurgence and pushed up above the level of 114.72. And the day chart, so we had a lower bottom and now we've moved to a higher top. So that does change the trend up in the short term. And the question is 114.72, we can all see it on the chart there. Can we stay above it? For me on the day chart, what I'd like to see if this is going to really start moving above is, some strong price action up and it pulls back to the area, holds as support on the daily chart on a pullback, and then we move off and up. We don't have that formation yet, so I don't know if price is just above the level at the moment, wanting to fall back below. So I'm not a buyer in this area at the moment, so I see that sort of price action. 4-hour chart, it's just holding to an uptrend, still got higher tops and bottoms. If we see this MACD cross down, that will probably be starting to give you a signal that we're going to move back below 114.72. And current 4-hour candle is getting positive and is holding above 114.72 today. It's not trading down to that level. So at the moment, the buyers are coming in at or above 114.72 and holding it up. So things are more on the positive side at the moment, to the upside than to failing back below 114.72 at the moment. And let's just move down to the 15-minute chart. So what we're doing at the moment is we're moving above 115, moving back below. above, below, above, below, and back above. And we're really just kind of chopping around a bit, probably waiting for the news to come out later in the evening. And then, you know, is 115 for this market going to be starting to become clear resistance from move down back below 114.72, or are we going to start to hold above 115? So as I say in the day chart, what I'd like to see is a good strong day up or two and a pullback to 114.72 to hold in the day chart, and then looking to buy moving up. If we fall back below 114.72, I'm looking for opportunities to sell below that level on a pullback to 114.72. So on the 4 hour at the moment, it is getting some intraday support above 114.72. So it's all positive at the moment in the short term. For things to change to negative, I'd like to see price pull back, break a low point, and then look at 114.72 as resistance to trade down from intraday. So I'm not really happy about trading above that level. I'm just on the sidelines. If it does break back, then I'll be looking to be a seller. I need to see a lot more positivity above that major level, because what you have to realize is on the monthly chart, this high here is 4 years ago. So we haven't been buying above that level for 4 years. So everybody's going to be cautious above there being a buyer. And the sellers know that nobody's been buying above that level. So they might just be letting it get above that level for a bit. But how long are they going to let the buyers be in any control before they want to push it back down? That's my concern. So I've given you my interpretation there. Now, I'm just going to head left to the left-hand side and go through the pairs. And some of the levels I gave you last week really hasn't changed. This is the Aussie yen. And monthly top here we've been failing at. There's a weekly level I've got drawn in here. So 85.80 is the monthly top. And the trend is still up. If we keep pulling back down in this monthly candle, we've got, what, a week to go. We might find at the end of the month, when we get into a new month, that this crosses down on the MACD. If that starts to happen, usually when we get a cross down, the last cross down was here, and we had a significant decline. So usually on the MACD, when it crosses up or down, following, you get a significant move one way or the other. So we're not quite crossing, but if we have a negative month this month and clearly close on its low, this will probably cross down. Weekly, this is in an uptrend too. I actually got short up here at 85 when we started to fail at this weekly area of resistance. And I set up here as we started to move down that it will probably target weekly support here at 82.019. And we've been a fraction short there, and we're just trading up within the range of last week. Day chart trend, clear low tops and bottoms. And this will be last week's high, and price will often that's high to low for last week. Price will often retrace within the candle of last week, back up to the 62.79% area of that candle range, before then topping out and then just putting its week down. So the MACD down at the bottom is not giving us any indication yet he wants to cross up. Yes, we're a little bit short of the weekly support, but what we might find is that this might come up to the 62.8338. At the moment, it's been a little bit above 83, a little bit below 83 in the trading day, and 83 around about that area might be calling where the market wants to hold at. Clearly here we've got 3 tops in a row here, around about 83.20 to 24 area. Getting back up to that area may hold the market, so you can watch the area, but we might come up to the 62, 83.38. If the news is positive to, well, if it's positive in the form of Aussie strength or yen weakness, then we may see a deeper rally up to about 79% retracement, 83.72. So watch those areas. Price is obviously moving up in the short term. So on the 15, not seeing anything to do. The day chart trend is down, so I'm looking for an opportunity where you could be selling down from an area. So giving you the areas there on the 4-hour chart. These tops, if these tops hold and you see weakness, you could be looking for a trend line break to the downside. Or depending on what the news does, we might pop up to the 62 or the 79, okay? Question coming in. How do you put in a trend line with the number on the chart? So Stephen, do you mean these lines that I've got here with the number on the end? Because those are kind of horizontal lines rather than trend lines. Is that what you mean? Because my trend lines don't, if I draw a trend line in, my trend lines don't have numbers on. So you're talking about the horizontal lines? Yep. Well, my settings for my lines, I'm just going to double click on it. Parameter, let me just see. Make sure you don't have this ticked, draw object, so don't tick that. So my settings are, I haven't got that ticked. And that's the only thing. Got shown all time frames. That's how I got my line set up. So if you set it up like that, you should get the number on the end. Okay. All right, so that's the Aussie yen, Aussie dollar. Let's take it to the weekly chart. Well, am I even going to go to the monthly chart? So I've got a couple of monthly lows drawn in here. Look at those 2 months we've had. Big month up, big month down. So we've kind of got railroad tracks there. And really those railroad tracks are holding at this area of old support in here, these candle lows here. And I've got drawn in where monthly support is at 71.06 and 66.91. So if we continue down, those two levels are going to get tested. They could well hold in the short term. We've had a MACD cross down on the Aussie dollar, so we may well see the last MACD cross down here. We had a long-term decline. So if we can start to break below these monthly lows, might take them next month to do that. You know, next year we could see price coming down. We might get retest 55 because we've got a cross down the MACD. We've got lower top. There's a minor bottom here, so I'm calling this a lower bottom. I think this is putting in a lower top. The weekly chart, I've discussed this before. The weekly chart's been up because the month was up last month, but I'm expecting this weekly low to break at 71.70. It's worth having that in there because we could well bounce there in the short term. But this is where it can get difficult when the monthly is down and the weekly is up and you're thinking, well, should I be buying here because we've got high tops and bottoms? But the monthly trend is quite clearly down. MACD crosses down, and I'm anticipating the monthly is going to continue in its trend. So the weekly over the term will change to down. So all we have to do at the moment is trade below 71.70. That changes the weekly to down. MACD is almost crossing down, so that's kind of confirming a change in trend, even though price action hasn't yet done it. And the daily here is just clearly lower tops and bottoms. Any rallies at the moment have been held at old support here at 72.76. So when the news comes out, 72.76 will be a level I would watch if price manages to have a rally. That's where, you know, if we rally back up, look to be a seller higher up in that area on a failure. Because if you think, well, in this area should be a buyer, MACD is quite clearly negative here. It's not crossing up whatsoever. You really need to see price action break above a high point here to change the trend. So don't think, any positivity from the news tonight could just be one day up. And where does it get to? It may only get up to 72.76 area or 73. So trends are clearly down. For our chart here, we could just be drawing in a fib from, say, that 72.76 area. When we fell below it last week, we rallied underneath it and a little bit short. So quite clearly the sellers are watching 72.76 area to sell. So that's why I'm saying watch the area if we get a solid rally on the news. At the moment, we're just in a downtrend. So watching the key levels of 62.79, 72.44, 72.57. What happens at those areas if we have a rally? And almost an overlap at the 79 up here with a pivot, and 62 overlaps 50 days projected high. So if we do get up there, I won't be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so, but you might be, depending on where you are. So if price rallies up to today's projected high, the 62 area at 72.44 and holds, or up to 72.50, so it's the half point between the two figure levels, 72.5, then that area could hold, and then look for opportunities to trade down on weakness, trendline break. All right, so at the moment we have today traded down to 72, and we're getting some short-term support at 72. And you know what? That support might be strong. We might move up to 73. We might go up and test 72, 76 area. Time will tell. But don't forget, the overall trend is down. So 1 or 2 days up does not change anything. The overall trend is quite clearly down on the daily and the monthly there. All right, getting into Euro Yen. And if we go to the monthly, this is in an uptrend, but the MACD, like the Aussie Yen, it's almost crossing. And we had a good month up last month and a very negative month down this month. We've tested this area of this monthly support low. Not sure if we actually broke below it. No, we're about 5 pips short of breaking below that area. But the month's very negative. It might just be waiting for another month to come in before it breaks down. If I had to guess, this is maybe putting in here a lower top to the final top. Time will tell. And we had a huge rush up, and we've moved all the way back down. In the short term, if we bounce up, this old weekly high should become new resistance at 137.36. So watch that level. Now, of course, here, we maybe got a triple bottom forming on the weekly chart, but this MACD is not showing any positivity here. The MACD's crossed down. See, that top was very close to that top, but the top of the MACD, you know, if it's in the same relationship to price action up here, to that high, that would be crossing up at this level. So that move up there wasn't a momentum move because the MACD didn't follow it in the same vein, and it's already crossed back down. So even though we're seeing a triple bottom potentially forming there, I'm not convinced that it's going to hold there and move up, because the MACD's not showing any positivity there. All right, but you have to obviously take your own personal look at it as well. If if it comes back down to 127.92, so it's the figure really at 128. If you just come back down to 128 and hold again, then support is support. So that's where you need to be looking to trade up, because that could be a triple bottom that's going to hold. The MACD is really not confirming that, but things can change. News can come out that's very positive over a few days, and then suddenly, yes, the buyers are clearly here wanting to buy when price comes down. So do watch 127.92, so the 12800 area for support. I'm anticipating though that may well break down over the course of time, because the monthly candle's been down all month. And just pausing because I'm just looking at my chat. And Nathan, you were telling me about Aussie dollar day support at 72.25. I don't know whether I covered that, but we've been down to 7,200 today. Let me just go back on that one. Yeah, we've got this minor level of day support here, 72.25. So yeah, we could be getting some support from there, but as well, you know, we're getting some, well, there's actually 3 levels in that area. So it has been a level area of support. So quite clearly, 72.25 down to 7,200 is clear support in the short term. Is it going to be clear support for the long term? Time will tell. All right, back to the Euro Yen. So we're getting support down here at 128, and we've had a bounce up. MACD though is not showing any signs of crossing up at the moment. That's why I'm concerned that this is maybe come down bounced. And what we'll find on the 4-hour chart is it's from this point here, it's dropped. And where's it rallied to? I think it's the 79% area. So is this now getting ready at the 79% area to move down and through? Time will tell. I'm not interested in taking a position right now till post news, but if it doesn't really take out this 79% area and starts to move down the fib tool, then look for opportunities to trade down. So, you know, tomorrow, and this is the same for any pair that may be in a downtrend, tomorrow, if the news is negative for these pairs, then tomorrow look for rallies back up to the central pivot point, and then for those areas to hold and trade down from those areas. See, today at the moment, the euro yen wants to be below the central pivot. So it's just on its way down, I think, from this 79% area failure. Now the news may pop this back up to 79. So that area at 129.54 could hold once more tomorrow. And that might offer you a trade down. Clearly, if you break above that area, then that area is null and void. But at the moment, back to the 4-hour chart, move down. This is a rally within that drop. And we could be just topping out here. So any further failure at the 79% level, 129.54, should be looking then for opportunities to sell down from that area. Euro dollar, this has been in a clear downtrend. And monthly chart here. Low tops and bottoms, very negative month. And, you know, I actually up here was calling for the selling at 122 back in May. And that was a good area to be a trader if you hold a position from there. But now at the moment, we're trading down to a level of monthly support. Old top here at 112.39. We're at 112.33. So at the moment, that's just holding the market. Whether or not it's going to hold it for the long term, as I said, once you get a MACD cross on the monthly, last MACD cross on the monthly here. Let's have a look. Last time we got a MACD cross on the monthly, that's how far it went down. All right, so if the same thing happens, we're going to be into the areas of 104, back down to support at some point in the future. And that's just by taking a simple approach of when you get across in the MACD and the monthly, you usually get then a long-term trend up or down. Very rarely do you get crosses occurring, you know, every 3 months on the MACD when you're dealing with the monthly chart. So at the moment, though, we're just toying with this area of support. And where can it rally back to? This old monthly top here at 114.12, so the figure area. So depending on what the news is doing, just putting in some major support and resistance areas that the market may well respect if we rally back up. So the weekly chart. So that area there, there's that top. There's another top there. And we actually, last week, just dropped straight through 114. So any positivity, I'm sure 114 area would hold as resistance in the short term. So day chart, we're just seeing a very strong downtrend at the moment. Shouldn't be looking to be a buy at the moment. Nothing is telling you to buy. It's just where would you get in on a rally? We do pop up. It's not inconceivable now after we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks down that we won't have 1 or 2 weeks up. So we are very long in the tooth in this move down. So don't think this is just going to go down for the next 4 weeks. It's highly unlikely. I think we may get, well, it's possible, but I would say in terms of likely or unlikely, the more likely thing would be that we have some form of short-term bounce. But trading against the trend for that bounce, I don't know if I want to do that. But where could it pull back to? I think the 114.12 area, so the 11400 level. And we are trying to get below that monthly level of support. Range is getting very small here on the 4-hour. Just waiting for the news to come out. The MACD is actually putting in the higher bottom here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a short-term bounce. And, you know, we're at 112.30, 170 pip rally. Back up to 114. That'd be a great area to watch to position yourself for the next move down for next month. All right. Just want to go back to the weekly. Just want to know what the high of last week is. 114.63. All right, so that's the high of last week. And we have broken below last week's low. But often, if you just drag a fib from last week's high, if we move down into a new week down to the low of that point, then watch the 62, 79% areas if we rally back up, because that's often where price will stop at. So the 62, 113.70 lines up with 4-hour top here. So that's the level to watch. And then the level I've already given you around about the figure level, the 114.12 level lines up with a 79% retracement of that weekly range, plus a little bit extra added on for this week's move down. So that area up there looks very good if we were to rally back up to that level. Okay. So watch those levels. Pound yen weekly at the moment. All I want to really comment on is that we're holding at monthly resistance. We traded above for a while. So this was the pair I was commentating on before, and I was looking at the dollar yen. On the weekly chart, we actually closed above it, traded for half a week above again, came down below, traded for another half a week above again, but then we fell back down and we're getting some support at weekly support here at 152.84.6. Now on the mega trend, this is just moving into consolidation and it's not really catching my eye at the moment, but I'll be watching this failure up here is really telling me that maybe we're going to be moving downwards down the range long term because we failed at major resistance. So we're getting some short-term support on weekly support, and it's a little bit choppy in here at the moment. So it's not really appealing to me. If we move back up to 156.59, knowing that it failed there already, I'd be looking at that area to trade down. And knowing that we failed here already, which could be the start of a continued downtrend, I'd be waiting to see if 152.84 can break. So we break below, and then can that area become resistance? Of course, if we come back down again, because what you can see at the moment in the area of support, 152.84, we've been holding here. We've traded below, came back above. We came back below again, rejected. So this could be support for a move back up to that area. So another drop down, if it holds again, that's a level to look for an opportunity to be a buyer at on a setup to trade up as well. So we might, you know, for the next month, we might just be held between support and resistance here. It doesn't have to break all the way down. It doesn't have to break all the way above. It could just be holding in that range as we head towards Christmas and people are going on holidays and the market starts to get range bound. So at the moment, it's failing at resistance at the top and it's holding on support at the moment at 152.84. MACD is crossing up, so maybe we are going to get some short-term move towards the top of the range once more. All right, pound dollar, monthly trend. In terms of price action, it's actually up. We don't have a lower top, lower bottom formation yet, but MACD's crossed. You've already heard my commentary about MACD crosses. Last MACD cross back in time over there. Look at the long-term trend. So we have a cross down, even though the monthly scenario of higher tops and bottoms is still in play. These tops that we moved above, or this one here at 135.14, and the one I've got drawn is at 134.82. Our price wants to now use that level as resistance as we get through the lower time frame. So I'm anticipating this is going to move further down. The weekly trend is quite clearly, look at the lower tops. Lower bottom breaking through to another lower low, and any weekly rally that we had last week, which was an inside week, got held at that monthly top that I drew in. So these tops are important because last week we were using that level to trade down from. MACD's down, everything's down. Day chart is down here. We've broken back below this minor support low. Short-term support is at 133.53. And this minor low here is at 133.95. So we'll put that one in. So it's almost the 134 level. So what I'll be watching at the moment is 134. Price rallying back up. Does it fail at 134 to trade down? One thing I have noted before I came on, this MACD is looking like it wants to cross up. So just going to go back to the weekly a moment. You know, we've put in a lower top and we've broken below the last bottom. And just by price rejecting these ranges down, you can see that the last range down, rally, we've put in the same kind of range like we did last time. So like I said, the euro dollar is a little bit long in the tooth to the downside. I'm not sure if the pound dollar is kind of a little bit long in the tooth to the downside there, just on the weekly ranges that it's putting into the downside. Of course, it could put in a longer range down, but we put in a similar range down now to the last range. So we are, you know, if you wanted to be a seller on this pair to make money, you wanted to be selling it on the failure up here. You know, the last part of the run is happening at the moment. So selling here is the last portion of the move. You want to be trying to get into the first portion of the move. So have an understanding about the position of the market and where we're at the moment. We're in the last move of the market at the moment before we're probably going to get a weekly rally. So you have to bear that in mind when you're looking for opportunities to sell. Yes, the trend's down on the weekly, trend's down on the daily, but we're getting into the last portion of the move. So, and MACD is looking like it might want to cross up. So with the information I'm just giving you, we could be moving up for a week or two as we're heading into December. If that's the case, the current weekly move down, that's the last weekly high up here. You know, you're going to be looking to see where, well, if you want to trade up against a trend, that's fine. But you're going to need to hopefully see the day chart trend turn to up, which we don't have at the moment. So I always like to trade in line with the day chart trend. And I always like to get in the early part of the move in terms of the longer term trend picture. So in the latter phase of that, so I'm quite happy to be patient and wait for a rally back up the range to maybe the 62 to 79. So that's 36.46 or 37.28. Now, if I do see a very strong day chart move starting to form, then I might trade it up. But at the moment, I'm not seeing that. But, you know, logically looking at the pound dollar, it may well be moving up. So these are the levels that I'll be watching if we have a move up. Short-term intraday, if the day chart trend, it really isn't changing its focus, then I think on the 15-minute chart, that's that level of resistance to just put in. 134.00, 133.95 area would be an area to watch for failure at the moment. If the bears are clearly in control, they're going to be holding this at 134. If we start to move strongly above 134, we may well be getting a reversal back up for a week or two, just because the weekly chart's telling me that we're getting close to the end of the move. All right, I just want to cover one more, and then if anybody's got a pair that you want me to look at, then shout it out and we'll have a look at it, like if you want to look at gold or something. Now, New Zealand dollar, very similar to the Aussie dollar. That's why I just want to go through this as my final pair. Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar are pretty much identical in their structure at the moment, trending down, even though the New Zealand dollar has had two interest rates over the last month now. In terms of we haven't had two interest rate changes this month, but this month and last month. So today was the interest rate change once more. And a month from today, we had another one. So within a month, we've had month and a day, maybe we've had two interest rate hikes on the New Zealand dollar. It's still moving down. So even though the interest rates are rising, the currency is still depreciating. And generally speaking, you would expect the currency that's got a rising interest rate to start to be moving up, but it's not doing that. So why is that? So all I'm doing at the moment is following the trend, and it doesn't want to go up even though interest rates are rising. So the market isn't feeling positive about those interest rate changes at the moment. So the monthly chart, lower tops, lower bottoms. And we've got these railroad tracks like I was telling you on the Aussie dollar. And I'm drawing in two similar areas of monthly support, but MACD's crossing down, like I've been commentating on all night. So we could be moving through next year to this area. And it's very difficult to think that I can take a trade in November and be taking profit next June. But, 54.68 was where we held last time. And there's currently about 1,500 pips distance there. That would be a good profit over six months. I actually got short on this pair at 71.20. I'm hoping that these monthly levels will break and that, yes, over the coming months, we're going to move down. So the monthly trend is lower tops and bottoms. We're having a very negative month this month. MACD's crossed down. Yes, we're going to need to contend with monthly support as price moves towards the area. We're going to need to contend with this weekly level of support. And the weekly trend is showing to be up. That's because we're a month up last month. But look at the MACD at the bottom. It's negative. It's actually leading price action because price action is telling you in the weekly chart it's up. But MACD is looking like it wants to cross down, and it's also crossing down and getting below the zero line. So all that's negative. So I'm anticipating that this will be moving through these levels. Now, when it tries to move through these levels, price action might not be pretty because there's going to be buyers at these levels wanting to push it back up. That's why I went through about 3 webinars discussing this area up here at 71.70, that the market was starting to form resistance at that level. And that was the most perfect area to get yourself positioned for this move, because now, even if it's choppy in this area, it doesn't matter because you got short up here. So you're risk-free and you're just waiting to see if price can break down. And if price action is a little bit horrible in the short term, it doesn't matter because it's just bouncing around and not really affecting you too much. So the day chart, though, is clearly showing you lower tops and bottoms. Like the Aussie, any rally at the moment, there's old support here that's been broken. An old top, as we come down, became support because we put in a low there. So I'm going to could use that area, but I'm going to use the last area formed, 69.79, as now resistance. So it's a stronger area though. This support low broken is going to be a stronger area of resistance when it tallies with one to the left. Well, there's resistance there and there's resistance there. So that area is a well-used area for trade orders, and expect any rally, watch 69.79, even up to the 0.70 level for resistance on any pullback. Of course, when you're initiating trades on this pair, you don't want to be selling on top of these levels of support, right? So if you're going to think about initiating a sell, anticipating where you're going to break through support over time, get in ahead of these areas because you want to be at break even with a bit of room for a bounce so you can hold your position. All right, day trend down. Price may well bounce back up to 69.79 if we get some positive news. In the short term, we did have some positive price action when the interest rate came out, but that was very short-lived. Put in a lower top, so I'll just be dragging my fib downwards as price action does its thing until it rallies. It may be rallying now, so let me just put it on the low point. And then looking at where price might rally to. I could probably, this fib may still be current tomorrow. I'm not seeing any really current great areas of overlap Doesn't overlap with the pivot too much on the 62 or the 79, but that fib may well be current tomorrow. If we don't rally further up, I'm just pulling the fib down as price action puts in a new low and then see where it rallies tomorrow. So any of these pairs that we may be anticipating further moves down, look tomorrow for a rally back up to the central pivot point. Does it hold and fail there for further moves down? So probably my two favorite pairs that are in trend are the New Zealand dollar and the Aussie dollar. And I'm just anticipating those will be moving further down. Just watch the levels of support that we're heading towards, though, when you're initiating any sells. All right, so. And Olivia, you're saying there was no hike in interest rates. Maybe I misread earlier in the day. Let me go back. All right, so no, I was right. I thought I was wrong then, and that would have been embarrassing. So previously we were at 0.50 on the New Zealand dollar. They forecast a rate hike to 0.75, and we got a hike to 0.75. All right, so unless I'm wrong, that to me is reading that we've had an interest rate hike in New Zealand today. Okay, hopefully that clears it up for you, Olivia. All right, so in my mind, we've had a interest rate hike, but price action is still been going down. So maybe the market was already anticipating that this rate hike was coming in. And then what we did have was a monetary policy statement coming out and a press conference, and the verbiage from all those things wasn't as positive as the market was then expecting after the rate hike. Maybe they're anticipating more positive news that we're going to get another rate hike next month, and maybe that didn't come to fruition, and then the market sold it off. All right, so anything you want me to look at in the next 10 minutes, just type it in and we'll go through it. I'm just going to drop these charts back to the 15-minute. I just want to see what price is doing. Still a bit range bound, generally speaking. The Aussie is staying at the central pivot here. It's a little bit above, a little bit below, but it's been held at the central pivot. So this could be where the top of the day is kind of forming for another trade down to test 72 area. And Nathan, you've put in a link there. And yeah, I can see on the URL, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand ups the cash rate to 0.75%. All right. All right, Euro-Yen's moving down. So that's moving down within that fib tool that drew in. As I'm not that keen about initiating trades at the moment because there's lots of news coming out that can drive price the opposite way to a trade. But I'm keen to get my levels ready for the next trading day. So the Euro must be just continuing its trade down here at the moment, which it is. So I'm going to go back to my monthly chart, the Euro dollar here. This is quite clearly at the moment wanting to move through monthly support. So if we move through there by about 50 pips, then as we're moving into the next trading day, clearly we're breaking below there on the daily. So on my 15-minute chart, I've got that level drawn in. So if we move, a good 50 pips below there, expect 112.39 tomorrow to be an area of resistance to trade down from if it, comes up back up for a retest. So this is looking negative now, breaking below that level. So tomorrow, any rallies back up to that level of 112.39 or just rallying back up to the central pivot point, those are the areas I'll be watching for a trade down tomorrow. All right, I'm going to bring up gold. Nathan's not asked me to look at gold, but I'll bring it up and have a look just to finish things off for the evening. Just want to make sure I've got the right chart up. All right, so on the monthly chart, I just want to put in this area of resistance up here. So that's at 1920.70. And that's where we last topped, put it in the last major top. And then down here at 1676.75. That's where we're getting major support at the moment. So, and actually, you know, look at where price is. It's in a horrible place at the moment. It's right in the middle of the range. But is it putting in a lower top? We've actually got a bottom here that I've drawn a line on, and then there's a slightly higher bottom, but is it putting in a lower top? So it's all getting mixed in here. Weekly trend is up, higher tops and bottoms, but this area of resistance that we've discussed before, we couldn't hold above. And where did price stop at? This resistance area over here. All right, so just back to the weekly moment. I mean, in terms of price action, the weekly trend is up, and you're going to go, you know, you need to trade and follow the trend. But I do say this in my support and resistance webinar, that support and resistance trumps trend, which can make life difficult because you're seeing a trend unfold and it comes up to a significant level of support or resistance, in this case, resistance. And up here, you're going, okay, well, up here, when we're approaching that area, we're in an uptrend on the weekly, we're in an uptrend on the daily, but now it's just dropped, you know, 2 negative weeks. How could I forecast that? Well, it's because support or resistance, in this case, resistance trumps trend. So that's why I'm always very cautious when I come up to a significant level of support or resistance, that even though I know the trend's up, the trend may well turn around. And the first time frame you're going to see that turn around is on the 4-hour chart. So the weekly is up, and here's the daily. Now, the weekly trend may hold, put a fib across that weekly range, and we're holding at the 79% level. Day chart, though, has crossed down, so that's a little bit negative. This is where it gets a bit difficult because we're miles away from resistance, where we could trade down from, and we're nowhere near major support because major support's down here. And we're actually in the middle of that area, so it doesn't excite me. I'm a bit unsure about what the trend is. The day trend is down. There's a minor low here broken and a minor top, but we are holding on weekly 79% fib retracement. So I just want to go back to the weekly a moment. It's very difficult because this failure up here could mean that we're going to be trading all the way down to support here. That clear failure there, you could just see the weekly trend change and keep going down. The day is quite clearly down. I mean, for me to make a decision at the moment whether I'm going to trade up or down, I'd have to move to the 4-hour chart and trade in line with that trend. So as I was saying before, when we get up to resistance here and the weekly trend is up and the day trend's up, and I'm saying resistance trumps trend, while price came down on the 4-hour chart, put in the lower bottom, rallied up and put in the lower top. And a couple of work colleagues of mine, we were discussing this head and shoulder pattern. Was this the area to sell gold? Nathan, I think you sold up in this area. I'm not sure whether you held it for that big drop, but pretty sure you got in this area here. And that was a 79% fib retracement pullback on the fib tool, putting in a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then obviously it's been moving down. So at the moment, the 4-hour chart is telling you the trend's down. If we move back to the daily, what I'd like to know is if we any rolling back up the chart at the moment, this area of resistance that we've had in before, let's use that last top there, 1833.96. Any move back up, you need to ask yourself, what does it do at this area? Because if it holds there and fails, then it's getting itself ready to move down to 1676 area, probably long term. All right, I'm just reading the chat. Lenny, I'll give you some credit. One of my work colleagues is in there tonight, and I've got two work colleagues on tonight, and giving Nathan some credit for his trade on the gold. But Lenny, I'll give him some credit too. He did make a nice 100 pips. I'm just going back to the New Zealand yen. He did make a nice trade down from this fair up here. I made 100 pips, so good kudos to you there, Lenny. All right, so back to gold. What do we think? Put in the chat there. Do you think gold should be a buy or a sell on the long term? Weekly trend is in an uptrend at the moment. So if that trend does hold, we may well be moving back up, but couldn't hold at these weekly tops. I've drawn that in at 1833. So if we do start to have a positive week up, it really needs to move back above 1833. If it can't, that's very negative. All right, so that's the big question. Can we move back above 1833 on gold? If we can't, we could well be moving down to the base of support once more. Time will tell. And just to finish that conversation, the thing that might move gold back up is whatever's happening on the stock market. So let me just open up the S&P 500 just to finish off. I'm aware that we're at the top of the hour. All right, so this is the weekly chart. We are putting a very negative candle in on the weekly, but the weekly trend is up. And price action is just starting to turn down. I don't know if this, and there's a bit of negative divergence here. We've had a higher top, but the indicator didn't follow. So are we going to have 1 or 2 weeks down, or are we going to have a more of an in-depth correction? I mean, this is well overextended. As we know, there's a bubble in the stock markets, but they're just seemingly having short pullbacks before they resurge back up. But the thing that would make gold potentially go up is if we started to have a significant sell-off in the stock market, then we would see maybe this gold moving through these resistance areas. At the moment, though, it's not wanting to do that. So the fact that this isn't wanting to move through could be telling us that this short-term top in the stock market is only very short-term. All right, so time will tell as we move through into December and into the new year. All right, everybody, any final questions before we finish up? Tomorrow, from a webinar perspective, so if you're on YouTube following, I haven't been able to answer your chat, so I apologize for that, but if you want to join us so you can chat with us, just register for a webinar. Tomorrow's webinar is coming up. It's all about Fibonacci. That starts at Sydney time, 8 o'clock. That's the last one for the week. And then starting next week on Tuesday, we're going to be going through MACD indicator and MACD divergence. Okay. All right, I'm just reading my chat. I think I gave credit to Nathan for the gold head and shoulder pattern, but I think it was Lenny, so I better give Lenny the credit for that one. And he did also have a nice trade on the Aussie, on the New Zealand yen too. All right, everybody, any final questions? I'm just going to hang around for a minute. If you've got anything to ask me, do. Other than that, have a great evening, stay safe, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow evening.